By analyzing Ashoka's edicts, we can discern the 5 basic principles at the heart of a politics of enlightenment, now as then. The first of them I call Transcendental Individualism. The second, Nonviolence. The third, had to coin a word here, Educationalism. The fourth, Social Altruism. And the fifth, Democratic Universalism. And first one now, to elaborate a little bit, Transcendental Individualism. Here, the Buddha rejected the idea that there is an irreducible core of personality that is independent, fixed, and indivisible. His enlightenment emerged from seeing through the illusion of a static individual entity at the core of self. He recognized himself as a fluctuating relative process of mental and physical life, totally interconnected with all levels of the environment. But this does not lessen the importance of the relative individual. It actually increases that importance. Transcendental individualism describes the political principle that acknowledges the supremacy of the individual's happiness over the polity's collective needs of security, productivity, order, and celebration. That the unenlightened individual is locked in the habitual perception of the primacy of his or her own self-interest is the indispensably realistic starting point for any social system, educational system, or system of psychological therapy. The discovery of a supreme reality beyond all the relative realities of life, a reality of permanent fulfillment and happiness that the individual can reach, that the individual can assist other individuals to reach, is the highest fulfillment for all living beings. This gives individual life meaning and value. Furthermore, the collective society's own highest value is the fulfillment by individuals of their own highest good. Luckily, an individual's highest happiness turns out to coincide with his or her embrace of the highest happiness of others as supreme. But that fulfillment is lost if the welfare of the many is advanced ahead of time as a license to suppress individual freedom. Only a self-fulfilled, truly happy person can effectively embrace the happiness of others as his or her own heartfelt goal. So the transcendental, it's so ironic and it's paradoxical but very logical, that transcendental individualism comes from, so social individualism, in other words, comes from the recognition of metaphysical non-individuality, non-indivisibility, let's say. So once you're totally relative to everything, then you have to be a node within the relativity of freedom and of individual self-fulfillment in order to bring that kind of fulfillment to others and to respect others' need for that self-fulfillment. It seems paradoxical, but you know, life is a little bit paradoxical without being unreasonable. Because second, the nonviolence element. In his Rock Edict 4, Ashoka proclaims, for many hundred years in the past, slaughter of animals, cruelty to living creatures, discourtesy to relatives, and disrespect for priests and ascetics have been increasing. But now, because of King Ashoka's practice of the truth, of the Dharma, the sound of war drums has become the call to truth, summoning the people to exhibitions of the chariots of the gods. The chariots of the gods are these kind of like moving platforms that are dragged by people on celebration holidays, which are sort of mobile temples, where there's like a statue of the Buddha or of some deity, Krishna or whoever it is, because the Buddhists never made any attempt to wreck the deities of the simple people, the theistic people. They never made any attempt. In fact, they never even disagreed with their existence. It's very important to know. Buddhists were not atheists. And unless you define atheism as a disbelief in an omnipotent creator God who is sort of outside the universe, that Buddha critiqued. But that there were gods, they never questioned that. So the chariots of the gods, going back to the quote, elephants, fireworks, and other heavenly displays. King Ashoka's inculcation of truth, of Dharma, has increased beyond anything observed in many hundreds of years. Abstention from killing animals and from cruelty to living beings, kindness in human and family relations, respect for priests and ascetics, and obedience to mother and father and elders. This is quite remarkable, the thing about the vegetarianism and the non-killing and non-cruelty to animals. You know, today, in the day of these vicious feedlots type of industries that we have, considering animals to be soulless material entities with no sensation and no feelings, is really a root. Notice revealed that Ashoka, the emperor here, 2,300 years ago, is aware that that kind of attitude is a root of then cruelty between people. Actually, that once you would get that kind of hard violence about the sensitivity of another sentient being. So nonviolence is the most immediate corollary of valuing the individual, especially the human. Once the purpose of the society becomes the development of its individuals, the lives of those individuals become the most precious things imaginable to that society. To take their lives away or give them up for collective purposes of territory, wealth, power, or glory is a complete dislocation of the basic mores. In Pillar Edict 5, Ashoka gives a long list of various species of animals under his protection and bans of hunting for sport. And in Rock Edict 1, which this is amazing, this one, he records his own struggle to overcome his addiction to meat eating, his own. Because apparently he liked his barbecues, but he talks about how he was trying to overcome it. And he says, in the quote, in the past, hundreds of living creatures were formerly slaughtered every day for the curries in the kitchens of His Majesty. At present, when this edict on truth is being inscribed, only 3 living creatures are killed daily, 2 peacocks and a deer, and the deer is not slaughtered regularly. In the future, not even these 3 animals shall be slaughtered. So he's sort of like someone who's trying to quit smoking. Well, I still have 2 or 3 a day or half a pack or something, you know. On a Rock Edict, he's putting that to show that he's trying to correct himself and his own bad habits and not be violent. And he has corrected the royal kitchen of not killing, like massive meat production every day, you know. He shows that that's really amazing, I think, really, 2,300 years ago.